We're beginning the study of human body systems, and so when we do that, we have to start learning about something about the different kinds of cells and tissues that we have in the body. So remember, in any living thing, especially in multicellular triploblastic things, okay, we have 5 levels of organization, from the cell, like a single muscle cell here, to a tissue, which is a collection of the same kind of cells working together, to the organ, which is composed of several different kinds of tissues working together for a specific task, to the organ system, and finally to the organism layer, where you have many systems working together. For a little vocabulary, here are the terms: tissue, which is an integrated group of similar cells that performs a common function. They work together to do some kind of job. An organ, 2 or more kinds of tissues that work together to perform some specific task. An organ system, multiple organs working together to perform some vital function for the organism. And finally, the organism, which is all of the organ systems working together as an integrated unit. This is really important to how animals function. In triploblastic multicellular animals, there are 4 main kinds of tissues. Epithelial tissue makes up the coverings and linings of internal organs and cavities. So when you see like a layer of tissue surrounding an organ or lining a cavity, that's going to be epithelial tissue. Also, surfaces of things like your skin. The second kind of tissue is connective tissue. Connective tissue has, by definition, a sparse population of cells scattered throughout some kind of extracellular matrix, and this includes things that don't have a lot of cells but make some other product, like bone. Muscle cells are long cells, muscle tissues are made of long cells that contain contractile proteins so that they can contract to cause movement of some kind. And the final kind is nervous tissue, which the tissues that can sense stimuli and transmit information rapidly. Let's talk about the different kinds of tissue in turn. Let's talk about the different ways that these cells can be arranged together. In terms of epithelial tissue, the basic kind of epithelial cells are squamous epithelial cells. Squamous epithelium is a single layer of thin cells. Lots of surface area, not as much volume inside. They're often on some kind of underlying tissue. For instance, you've got layers of skin that are somewhat like this. The layers of tissue on the inside of your mouth or inside of your esophagus are made of squamous epithelial cells. Simple cuboidal epithelium is a more cube-shaped cell. These often make up ducts and organs of various kinds. Simple columnar epithelial cells are tall and thin and packed in tightly together. They look like columns, and you find these kinds of cells quite often in the intestines. Stratified squamous epithelium is a bunch of layers of epithelial cells, and so, like I said, in the lining of the esophagus, you have lots of layers because there's a lot of erosion of that tissue. And then finally, pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, found in the lungs and other places like that, where you have long, tall, skinny cells that are varying widths, and they look like layers, but they're not really layers, and they have cilia in the top layer. In terms of connective tissue, there's a number of different kinds of tissue involved in connective tissue. We have blood, which is a connective tissue. A lot of people have trouble realizing that blood is a connective tissue, but it is fits that definition of the relatively sparse population of cells in some kind of matrix. The matrix in this case is the plasma, the liquid part of the blood. And you've got white blood cells, red blood cells, and other kinds of components that are carried in the blood. Bone is another type of connective tissue. Bone has bone cells containing sitting inside a matrix of the bone tissue, the calcium salts that are put together to make the bone. Cartilage is also a connective tissue. You've got cartilage-forming cells in the cartilaginous matrix that you find at the ends of bones and in places like your nose and your earlobes. Adipose tissue, or fatty tissue, is another kind of connective tissue. These cells contain fat droplets inside them, and they're there for storage of energy and also for insulation for your body. Fibrous connective tissue, forming a tendon or a ligament, would be fibers, collagen fibers, with cells dispersed in them that are arranged in a way to make a tough, strong fiber. And finally, we have loose connective tissue under the skin that oftentimes is used to hold various layers together. Muscular tissue has 3 different types of muscle. We have skeletal muscle, which is your voluntary muscle and the muscles that you have charge of to move. It is striated or striped. It has nuclei that are spread throughout, and it's made of all these connected contractile proteins that are found inside the cells. The cardiac muscle is also striated. It has the same striped kind of appearance, except the cells are branched in cardiac muscle. We have different kinds of junctions between cells because these cells have to really coordinate together to make sure the heart continues pumping continuously on a day-to-day basis throughout the life of the individual. And then finally, smooth muscle cells, which are not striated in appearance, but are definitely very important. They're what moves the food through your digestive system, and the diaphragm, which helps you to breathe, is mostly smooth muscle, and so forth. And the final kind of tissue is nerve tissue. Nerve tissue is made of neurons. This is a picture of a neuron showing you that receiving parts of the cell, the dendrites, the cell body where the nucleus and organelles reside, and the axon that carries the signal to the next cell that it needs to stimulate. Now we're going to divide the body systems into 4 main categories: the systems of regulation, those of nutrient absorption, those of reproduction, and finally support, movement, and defense from illness or injury. So we'll talk about the systems within these categories and how they work together to maintain homeostasis in the entire organism. Here are some examples. We've got the circulatory system and respiratory system and digestive system, or here is the systems of nutrient absorption. The muscular system, integumentary, and skeletal system involved in that protection and support. The urinary system, which is one of the regulatory systems. The endocrine and nervous system are the other regulatory systems. The lymphatic and immune systems fit together with the support and protection. And finally, the reproductive system, which stands alone.